into the property sector. Fresh announcements were made this week. China is giving out over $500 billion for housing projects. And this is in the form of loans.
By year-end, we will expand the scale of credit loans for the whitelist of housing projects to $562 billion. The coordination mechanism of urban real estate financing seeks to include all eligible housing projects in the whitelist.
But it may not be enough because the problems with the Chinese money run much deeper. Mere tinkering or just band-aids won't do. What they need is surgery. Beijing needs to roll out structural reforms. That's the view of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. It believes that China's growth will remain below 4% if it continues on the same path.
I've been arguing that China is at the fork on the road. If they continue with their current model, which is export-led growth, there would be trouble. Why? Because the Chinese economy has grown to a point when China's export is no more a minor factor in global trade. And don't rely on some miracle that would retain an export-led model in this large economy as a viable vehicle.
She said it. The stimulus measures are inadequate to bring its economy back on track. China needs to look beyond exports. And there is another risk on this front. Chinese products are increasingly facing Western scrutiny. First, it was the Chinese EVs, electric vehicles, which have been slapped with tariffs in the West. Now the US is coming after Chinese drone makers. It has sanctioned 2 Chinese companies. They apparently made drones for the Russian military. So the writing is on the wall. The future of Chinese exports looks bleak, riddled with tariffs and sanctions. The market for Chinese products is steadily shrinking. So internationally, this market is shrinking, and at home, incomes are drying up. Millions of Chinese workers are jobless and possibly under the burden of debt. Stimulus packages alone won't fix all of this. Unfortunately for China, though, their leader is busy shooting the messengers and picking fights with the world. Now to the United States. Yesterday we told you about the battle of Fox interviews. Today we have a winner. It's Kamala Harris. Her first interview on the network drew more than 7 million viewers. Donald Trump's was around 3 million. So Harris clearly won this round, at least in the ratings. But it's a completely different story on the betting market. Americans are hedging their bets on the presidential election, and Donald Trump is in the lead there. I guess the question is, does any of it translate into real votes? Our next report tells you.
It was the battle of Fox interviews, Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. Both appeared on the network on the same day. Both tried to woo voters. And who came out on top? Well, the ratings say it was Kamala Harris. She sat down with Brett Breyer, the chief political anchor for Fox. The conversation was short, yet there was a lot of back and forth. The interview drew an audience of 7.1 million viewers. That's how many people tuned in to watch it. It's an impressive number, especially when you compare to other Fox programs. In fact, Brett himself attracts an audience of 2.3 million people on an average every day. So this was nearly triple of that. The Harris campaign sees this as a major win. She went on Fox to appeal to the conservative voters, and this seems like a job well done. But guess first time's the charm. This was the Democratic presidential nominee's first appearance on Fox News.
What is happening right now?
So, of course, viewers were curious. At least that's how the Republicans are trying to frame it. And how did their own candidate do? Well, Trump is no stranger to Fox News. He's given multiple interviews to the network. The day's town hall, however, wasn't a crowd puller. It got around 3 million viewers. So, looks like Harris won the battle of ratings. But when it comes to betting, Donald Trump seems to have the edge.
And I like that. I like that. I like that.
America is betting on the presidential elections and they're spending big money on it, over $2 billion. There are three main platforms: Kalshi, Predictit and Polymarket. On Polymarket, Trump has a 60% chance of winning, Kamala Harris is at 39%. On Kalshi, Trump is leading with 57% compared to Harris's 43%. Predictit too shows Trump in the lead. So the market sentiment is clear. Donald Trump is in the lead. And many believe these rating markets are a better indicator than opinion polls. That's because of two reasons. One, it updates in real time. And two, it involves a lot of money. Elon Musk also agrees. He has time and again highlighted how Trump is leading in the betting markets. But critics say betting markets like these are hardly accurate. In fact, they are quite volatile and easily manipulated by anything from a triumphant post to a random comment. National polls show both candidates neck and neck. According to an average of national polls, Kamala Harris is slightly ahead in the race with 48.5%, while Trump has 46.1%. Now, this is within the margin of error, which is 2 to 3%. And right now, campaigning is in the final stretch. Billionaires have also joined the political fight. As the race for the White House heats up, will we get a second Trump term? Or will Kamala Harris become America's first female president? We'll find out in less than a month.
Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, that's America's choice. But it's a choice that could decide the fate of a country some 9,000 kilometers away. I'm talking about Ukraine. It's fighting a war with Russia. The war began in 2022. It's been more than 2 years, and it shows no signs of ending. Russia continues with its strikes. Ukraine struggles to hold on to territory. The front lines remain unchanged, and all of this is making one man quite nervous. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. On Wednesday, he presented what he calls a victory plan. It's his plan to win this war. Today, he arrived in Brussels, pitching it to European leaders and allies.
If we start now and follow the victory plan, we can end this war no later than next year. Dear friends, I presented the victory plan to our parliament, our people, and I have their support. And I think it's so important to have unity in our country. The goal of the plan is that it strengthens not only Ukraine, but also our entire community.
You can call it wishful thinking, but Zelensky believes that he can end this war by 2025. How? By following this grand victory plan. It has 5 broad points. Number 1, invite Ukraine to join the NATO. Zelensky wants his country to become a part of the NATO military alliance ASAP. Number 2, Ukraine's defenses should be beefed up, which includes a lot of things, but Kiev really wants, what it really wants is the permission to hit Russia with Western weapons. Number 3, a non-nuclear strategic deterrent package. Ukraine wants it deployed on its soil. Zelensky believes it will keep Moscow away. Number 4, continuing the Kursk offensive. Ukraine thinks that this incursion was a big win. It wants to hold on to Kursk and use it as a bargaining chip. And finally, number 5, protection of Ukraine's natural resources. Kiev wants the US and the EU to do all of it. So those are the 5 broad points. There are 3 more which have been kept secret. Ukraine has shared them only with its partners. So with this grand plan in hand, Zelensky is on a mission. He wants the West to embrace it. First, he met the European leaders, then he headed to the NATO headquarters.
Dear Volodymyr, it is great to have you here at NATO headquarters. I look forward to the day that Ukraine is here as a member of this alliance. And until then, we will continue to do all that we can to ensure Ukraine prevails. This is vital for our shared security.
Some supportive words there from the new NATO chief, but words are all that Zelensky got. He wanted a NATO membership, he wanted a formal endorsement of his plan, he got neither. Obviously, that would make anyone feel snubbed, but it won't be the first for the Ukrainian president. So he promptly changed tack. He went from pitching a victory plan to issuing an ultimatum.
What is the way out? Either Ukraine will have nuclear weapons, and then this is defense for us, or we should have some kind of an alliance. Today, we do not know any effective alliances other than NATO.
Nukes or NATO? Zelensky says those are his two options. He is not getting a NATO membership, that much is quite clear. So will he go nuclear now? Well, this is what Zelensky said.
Which one of these big nuclear countries suffered? All of them? No, just Ukraine. Who gave away nuclear weapons? All of them? No, just Ukraine. Who is fighting today? Just Ukraine.
Quick primer here. Ukraine became independent in the year 1991. It inherited thousands of Soviet nuclear weapons. In 1994, Ukraine gave up those weapons. It transferred all of those weapons to Russia. And this was in exchange of security. And Ukraine blames the West for this. Its security guarantees are gone, so Kiev wants the nukes again. But it's easier said than done. You can't just ask for nuclear weapons and have them. I'm sure Zelensky knows that too. So why is he pulling off this stunt? Because he is grasping at straws. America goes to polls on November 5th. If Kamala Harris wins, it will be business as usual, more aid, more support. But if Donald Trump wins, Ukraine could be in trouble. Zelensky knows that. Trump has not been his biggest fan. He does not like the idea of American aid to Ukraine, and he blames Zelensky for this war.
I think Zelensky is one of the greatest salesmen I've ever seen. Every time he comes in, we give him $100 billion. Who else got that kind of money in history? There's never been. And that doesn't mean I don't want to help him, because I feel very badly for those people. But he should never have let that war start. That war is a loser.
That was Donald Trump at a podcast. He called Zelensky the greatest salesman. Sounds like a backhanded compliment. It has rattled the Ukrainian president for sure. And it's not just him. US President Joe Biden has barely 3 months left in the White House. And right now he's in Berlin for a swan song trip. A visit to assure allies and discuss the war in Ukraine.
America and Germany are the two largest supporters of Ukraine in its fight for survival as a free and independent nation. As Ukraine faces a tough winter, we must sustain our resolve, our effort, and our support.
Now, Joe Biden can offer assurances, allies can pledge support, Zelensky can give ultimatums, but the fact of the matter is the world is moving on. As of today, Zelensky's biggest challenge is not really Russia. It's the waning support of the West. And in a war of attrition, that can be deadly. The Ukraine war once inspired global unity, but now it's more like yesterday's news. So Zelensky is battling both Russia and a fading spotlight.
DNA מעביר למאגר משטרת ישראל למאגר DNA. בשני המקרים אנחנו מוצאים התאמה ליחיא סינואר, ככה שיש לנו בעצם גם DNA, גם טביעת אצבע וגם שיניים של יחיא סינואר. כל הנתונים האלה מצויים בידי משטרת ישראל ובידי שב"ס, ולמעשה אנחנו משתמשים בנתונים קודמים על מנת להשוות.
שיהיה לכם דרך הצלחה ושאר כוח על הכל.
תודה, דרום אחד, רות הישר, יוצאים לדרך. טוב, אנחנו פה יוצאים למבצע שצריך להגיד, סגירת מעגל עם, שכולנו תקווה עם רב המרצחים שטבח בבני עמנו לפני כשנה בדיוק, בחג הסוכות, בכמה סימבולי, שלשמחתנו הרבה, לוחמינו האמיצים, חיסלו אותו בעזה בחג הזה. אנחנו מכאן יוצאים למבצע שנקרא הקפה ראשונה. המבצע הוא בעצם ליווי, הבטחה של כוחותינו, שמירה ומבחינתנו מוכנות. כולנו פה שותפים למשימה לאומית וחשובה מאוד, ומכאן אנחנו יוצאים לדרך.
Today, the mastermind of this day of sheer evil is no more. Yahya Sinwar is dead. He was killed in Rafah by the brave soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces. While this is not the end of the war in Gaza, it's the beginning of the end. To the people of Gaza, I have a simple message. This war can end tomorrow. It can end if Hamas lays down its arms and returns our hostages. Hamas is holding 101 hostages in Gaza, who are citizens of 23 countries, citizens of Israel, but citizens of many other countries. Israel is committed to doing everything in our power to bring all of them home. And Israel will guarantee the safety of all those who return our hostages. But to those who would harm our hostages, I have another message. Israel will hunt you down and bring you to justice. The axis of terror that was built by Iran is collapsing before our eyes. Nasrallah is gone. His deputy Muhsin is gone. Haniyeh is gone. Def is gone. Sinwar is gone. The reign of terror that the Iranian regime has imposed on its own people and on the peoples of Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, this too will come to an end. All those who seek a future of prosperity and peace in the Middle East should unite to build a better future. Together, we can push back the forces of darkness and create a future of light and hope for all of us.
האיש הזה תכנן, יזם, נתן פקודות, ביצע, ואני מניח שאם היינו משאירים אותו בחיים, הוא היה עושה את זה גם קדימה. אנחנו קצת אחרי ה7 באוקטובר וקצת לפני שמחת תורה, וב-11 ימים שבין השנה של הלוח העברי לבין השנה של הלוח הלועזי, אנחנו סוגרים חשבון עם סינואר שאחראי ליום
We usually make fun of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, but yesterday they did it to themselves. A full-on roast session. Ahead of voting, the Americans have a dinner tradition. Catholic charities get together in New York and they host a dinner for both candidates. It's called the Al Smith Dinner. Now the mood is pretty light. Even the candidates are expected to mock each other. But let's just say some of the jokes were pretty rough. Not exactly friendly banter. Trump attended the dinner in person while Kamala Harris sent a recorded video performance. The former president did reasonably well, but the vice president bombed spectacularly. Listen to this.
And these days it's really a pleasure anywhere in New York without a subpoena for my appearance. Anytime I don't get a subpoena, I'm very happy. Tradition holds that I'm supposed to tell a few self-deprecating jokes this evening. So here it goes. Nope, I've got nothing. We're called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris. Doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me. The only piece of advice I would have for her in the event that she wins would be not to let her husband Doug anywhere near the nannies. Just keep him away. That's a nasty one. That's nasty.
Is there anything that you think that maybe I shouldn't bring up tonight?
Well, don't lie. Thou shalt not bear false witness to thy neighbor.
Indeed, especially thy neighbor's election results.
Just so you know, there will be a fact checker there tonight.
Oh, that's great. Who?
Jesus.
We are 19 days until the election and likely a civil war. And, you know, I'm nervous. You know what I mean? It's like, this is my first civil war, guys.
And now it's time for Vantage shots, images that tell the story. Italy's auto workers marched through the streets of Rome demanding more work. Tons of rubbish wash into Bosnia's main river after flash floods in the country, and Mexico gears up for the Day of the Dead with a giant skeleton exhibit. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1867, the United States took possession of Alaska. America bought Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million. That's around 2 cents per acre. Moscow wanted to sell it because it was too far away and difficult to defend. Alaska became a U.S. state almost a century after the purchase. Today, it is the largest state in the country with vast natural resources. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. The US Justice Department has announced criminal charges against Vikas Yadav, an Indian government employee. That's what they claim. And has accused him of allegedly orchestrating a failed plot to kill Gurpatwant Pannun. Now, Bharat has immediately said that it is cooperating with the United States on charges levelled against an Indian national in the plot to kill Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannun, who resides in New York City. Top sources have said no such individual was working with the Indian intelligence agencies as was being claimed by the US. Sources have further stated that Indian intelligence agencies do not hire any hitmen. Sources also have questioned if Vikas Yadav, the individual named by the US, could have an issue with Pannun at a personal level or an individual level. It is important to probe where is this individual and what is his problem with Pannun. Pannun is spreading hatred and speaking against Bharat on a regular basis, and his team are regularly burning the tricolour, insulting Bharat. The individual must have had some individual issues with Pannun because of his conduct. Top intelligence sources have told CNN News 18. The way incidents of Indian flags burning have been emerging, some individuals have made it a personal fight against Pannun. As we have noticed in the recent past, burning of Indian flags and protests have been taking place in front of the consulate in the United States on a regular basis, and this might have disturbed this individual, just like it's disturbed some others, intel sources added. The government is clear that no terror activities by any Indian intelligence can take place because that is not a matter, or that is not something that is state policy, or they do not indulge in this. That's what the government sources believe. Our security affairs editor Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us these details. And there's more. This man, Gurpatwant Pannun, ladies and gentlemen, is a terrorist, a goon, a trafficker, a criminal supported by foreign agencies to defame Bharat. He's an ISI plant in the US who spreads hate with his Khalistan, and his narrative suits some US agencies too. Bharat is pushing for Pannun's extradition on an urgent basis, as many cases are pending against this terrorist. He is Bharat's most wanted terrorist. He is currently in the United States. There are non-bailable warrants